Okay, in this tutorial we're going to be looking at the Virgo catalogs that you should have been given access to in class, and we're going to be plotting these galaxies according to their RA and deck coordinates, and then looking at the distribution of these galaxies with a color bar, how they look according to their cosmic recession velocity, and then what environments they belong to. So we'll be creating different subsets and color bar. So to start, notice that we have our two catalogs here. You can ignore these three catalogs I have down here, and it'll be easiest to proceed if we combine these two catalogs, so I'll be introducing you to that. This is sort of the default display that you'll be able to see, but we want to match according to the VFID columns of these two tables. So select the main table here, the environment table here. Make sure that they're the two different tables, not the same table, and then make sure that you're choosing the match value column VFID for these. And then what TOPCAT will do is it will create a row match table combining all of the columns from the first table and all the columns from the second table, which will be handy. And then you can close this window when you're finished, open up a plot, and what we'll first do is look at the RA and deck plot of these galaxies according to, or color coded according to their cosmic recession velocity. So with astronomy convention, we flip the x-axis of the RA, and we're going to go to Form and Aux to create our color bar. I'll resize this window real quick. And again, we want cosmic velocity, so we'll click the cosmic, and there we have it. So what we can do from here is look a bit at how we can best display all these points, because you can see there's a lot of clutter here. So there are a lot of points that are overlapping, especially in this region, which happens to be the near the cluster center. So we could change, for instance, the style of these points to something a bit not as solid, and then maybe change the size. We could change the opacity as well, which is helpful to see where the points are, or the galaxies are most clustered. And as you'd expect, they're most clustered near the cluster center, as I mentioned previously. But you don't want them so faint that you can no longer see many of the other points like this. So make sure that you choose something that's sort of a happy medium for you. I would say, again, that's sort of your prerogative, as I will likely say multiple times throughout this recording. Again, just choose something that you think best displays the points and readability purposes. And as always, you can go here and change the color scheme a bit if you don't like Inferno. Maybe you can choose Viridis. Viridis tends to be a favorite among folks in the department at KU here. So we can, let's see, I've actually found this quite helpful to change to histogram, because you can, it almost shows a bit more, or a bit better distribution of the cosmic recession velocity for these galaxies. So maybe something like this. And then of course you can go to title, type a nice header title, so I'll just say title here, but maybe do something like RA deck of Virgo cluster galaxies according to their cosmic velocity, or just omit that part because there is a color bar here after all. Then you can change font size and so forth. If you're interested in the LaTeX version, you can refer to the typed version of this tutorial in the Google Docs. But for now, that's essentially what we need. We can go ahead and download this real quick just to see how it looks. See, the points are a bit different. I would recommend playing around a bit with the opacity here and seeing how it exports, because sometimes what you have here is not exactly what you'll have when you export it. So just be mindful of that. Okay, so environment next. Let's close this and create a new window just to start fresh. Go over here, flip the axis as always. Okay, and this is surprisingly uninvolved to create new subsets in this way, instead of using numbers and ranges as we did for one of the previous exercises. All we have to do is use the flags or the columns in the environment catalog. So let's uncheck this, and let's go ahead and check poor group member, rich group member, filament member, pure field, and cluster for the 5 environments. As you can see, there are a lot of points here, 6,780 to be exact, and they're all sort of bunched together. It looks real busy. There are a lot of points here, a lot of colors, a bit tricky to read. So one option is you can tweak the size and shape of these points if you so desire, and also the color, because having teal and blue on one plot and green tends to not be the best. That's just a recommendation I have. And then also, if you want to change the label of any of these, you can just click the text or the item in general next to the checkbox and type something like pour group, press enter, and it'll change the text here like always. And of course, remember title if you need to. But returning to what I was discussing previously, if you would like to better display these, you can tweak the shape and the size of the points. Here's an example that I have. Maximize it a bit, or just maximize the window, because then the points spread out a bit. It's a bit easier to read this way. This isn't the ideal example of what shapes and colors, sizes you can choose, but it is an example. It's real tricky to best display this in a way that maximizes the readability of the plots. Here it is loaded, or exported, just for reference. Another thing you can do, though, let me return to this window actually, is instead you can create two separate plots. So you can do something like just have the rich group, poor group, and filament galaxies, like this. Let me export this real quick. And then let's go ahead and instead now just do cluster and field galaxies, like this. Okay. And export. Okay, I should not have done it the way I just did it. If you'll excuse me a moment. Should also note that I chose for the cluster galaxies black, so what you'll want to do is maybe change to a different color for the filament galaxies, because they're also black in this for some reason. Should be green, just a bit strange. That's fine. Everything's fine. Anyway, let's download this as one. Okay, so we'll go ahead and open both of these. It's really not as important that the filament and cluster colors are the same in this case, because they're two different plots, two different shapes. But in the case where you have all 5 of them at once, you'll probably want something, you will want something different. So this is not okay, and it might be because I've generated multiple plots that it's not loading correctly at the moment, but just concentrate on these two for now. So we have our 2 plots. This is an alternative way of displaying each of the environments. You can also create 5 separate plots for 5 separate environments if you so choose, but this is relatively fine as well. So it's your prerogative. Again, just make sure that you're choosing something that folks can read relatively easily and get the most out of what you're trying to display. And that's all.